Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. Want to improve your organization's customer service? Looking for insider tips to knock your customer socks off? Then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Yannick Grant.
Welcome to Navigating the Customer Experience. On today's episode, our guest is Rachel Stanley. Rachel came to Banzai in 2019 with over 10 years of SaaS onboarding, training, implementation, consulting, e-learning, customer success, adoption, and support experience. When Rachel joined Banzai, customer success was the only customer-facing job function. Since then, Rachel has added onboarding, support, and customer marketing, successfully creating a customer experience organization that has driven best in industry customer satisfaction and grown Banzai's net retention rate, NRR, significantly. Rachel is passionate about building high-functioning teams that consistently hit their objectives. Previously, Rachel has held roles at Amazon and ACS Technologies. Rachel lives in the Seattle area. So without further delay, sit back, plug your earphones in, and let's jump right into this conversation with Rachel. Welcome, Rachel.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Awesome. Now, we always like to give our guests an opportunity to share a little bit about their journey. So could you share with our listeners how it is that you got from where you were to where you are today?
Yes. Beginning of my career, I was actually an office manager for many years and an executive assistant. So my customer base was very internal. And then I took the opportunity at ACS Technologies to apply for, I was an executive assistant, office manager, and applied for a onboarding, I forget, like specialist or, an onboarding role. And so that was my introduction into customer facing. And from there, it just kind of took off. I went from onboarding to an actual like implementation consultant. Then I ended up leading that team. And so we mainly focus on training and implementation, professional services. And then coming into Banzai was really when I wanted to break into customer success. It was still kind of new back then. It's really developed over the years. But at Banzai in the last 5 years, I've just grown so much. I mean, thankfully, there's so many resources like this podcast out there that really explore all the areas of customer experience. So at Banzai, like you just said, I basically grew from customer success and then added onboarding and adoption and support, and customer marketing has been the latest addition.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. Now, could you tell our listeners a little bit about Banzai and what you guys do?
Yeah, Banzai's a MarTech company. So we're all about providing like tools that give marketers data. And so right now our products are mostly event focused. We have a webinar platform and then a platform/service that drives registrations to field marketing events. But this year is really exciting. We're looking at a bunch of different acquisitions that we're mainly focused on how to provide data to marketers. So we have visions of becoming a platform that has like a ton of tools for marketers to, become a Banzai customer. So for me this year, cross-sell is a big focus.
All right. So Banzai focuses really on events, as you said, and your target is really your marketers are your customers. What would say are some of your customers' main pain points? How is it that you're able to overcome some of those? And as you mentioned as I mentioned when I was reading your bio, successfully have a high retention rate, because ideally that's what all organizations aim for, to keep the customers that they have, for a lifetime.
Yeah, definitely. So I'll specifically talk about our webinar platform customers, because that's the bulk of our business at the moment.
Mm-hmm.
So the problem they often come to us, I would say most have already at least started a webinar program. Some customers are just starting, but our main, you know, segment or ICP is mid-market. So most of them have done a webinar. program before, but it's been clunky. They feel like their other platform wasn't engaging, and they didn't know how to prove the ROI of their webinar platform. And so what we really focus on is, thankfully our platform's super easy, super clean, and all of that. So we obviously want to make sure they make the use all of the features, all of the engaging features to help their audience engage more. But then we also point out all the data we have on the back end that helps them prove the ROI. And so since our customers are marketers, they're obviously, most of their objectives are providing MQLs and things like that. And so things like our focus rate, like being able to see who was the most engaged in a webinar, really can provide like a lead score for them and then push people over to sales and provide MQLs. And so that's really where I think instead of just kind of letting them just, get on the webinar platform and just run a webinar, we're really focused on how to improve the webinar, how to make it more engaging, and how to deliver the data that helps them, move those prospects to the next stage of the opportunity.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing. Now,
Mhm.
seeing that you've been in the customer success space for quite some time now, what are some of the emerging trends that you are seeing in the customer success space that you believe, if that trend continues in a positive way, will help to enhance customers' experience, generally speaking?
Mm, that's a great question. I would say that, oh, what's a good trend? I'm trying to thinking, well, I think internally, like the trend that we're all kind of looked at and focusing on is AI, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so how can we utilize AI? And I think all of us, especially, people that work in customer experience, we tend to all really care about people. Like we have a lot of empathy that, there's definitely like a persona. And so I think there's some concern in the AI space that like we don't want to be replaced by robots or, probably any function is worried about that. And so I'm trying to learn as much as I can about AI and explore different tools and how, it's being implemented. And what I think is we really need to lean into how AI can help us be more efficient, but not replace us. Like how can AI free up more of our time to focus on our customers and make sure they're getting the most value out of our product or our service? And so what I'm seeing right now, like with support, is AI can help find an answer quicker or, kind of write a draft of a response to a customer instead of just like automatically, sending a response to a customer. Like, we've all had the experience of calling in and they're like asking you to say, and it's a robot, like asking you to say what your problem is, and you end up kind of screaming at the phone asking to talk to a representative. That's not the experience I want for our customers. And so what we're leaning into is more like internal efficiencies. And I think what that allows, it's good for morale too, because freeing up time is allows people to lean into their sweet spots and what they're passionate about and spend what I'm seeing with CSM specifically is allowing them to spend more time on things like a QBR or, just checking in on a customer or, joining one of their webinars, things like that. And so I think that's a positive that, if we can keep freeing up more time, then that's a trend I want to continue to lean into.
All right. Thank you so much for sharing.
Mhm.
Now, Rachel, can you also share with us what's the one online tool, resource, website, or application that you absolutely cannot live without in your business?
Let's say intercom for us. That's the tool we use for our support chat. It also allows us to do like in-app. pop-ups of, it could be anything from like a banner announcement to a survey or, announcing a feature release, things like that. That's I mean, it's what allows us to provide fast 24/7 support. For us, a webinar, we have customers around the world and we believe 24/7 support is essential because if something's wrong, it's, super stressful in the moment. Like imagine if this podcast was live, and there's a technical difficulty. So Intercom is what allows us to do that and what allows our customer marketing to advertise things, but also point out, oh, it's also like how we do on like in-app onboarding, like a product tour when new customers initially join. So it's, I mean, definitely an essential tool for us.
All right, so that's Intercom, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Could you also share with us maybe one or two books that you've read? It could be a book that you read recently or even one that you read a very long time ago, but it has had a great impact on you and maybe even your development and, just your continued growth.
Yeah. So over like the Christmas and New Year's break, I read two books that have really kind of framed a theme for me this year. And it's essentialism and the lazy genius way. And both of them aren't necessarily business books, but I like the books like that you can apply to your personal life and to work. And they kind of have a similar theme. And actually, I read The Lazy Genius Way first, and in that book, or maybe it's her podcast, but she recommended essentialism. She says she reads it once a year. And basically, essentialism talks all about doing less but better. And the lazy genius, her tagline is being a genius about the things that matter and lazy about the things that don't. And so going into this year with my team, I've just really been talking about like an essentialist mindset. And it goes back to even my, original customer facing days of training where I talked a lot about like first you focus on what's essential, then what's important, then what's helpful, like when training a customer. And I think we can apply that with our own workload. My team's job is never done, right? Like there's always something we could be doing more and better, and we get a lot thrown at us. And so I've really been, to help with overwhelm and burnout, been focused on, okay, but what's essential? Like what's essential today? What's essential this quarter for us to hit our objectives and our goals? And it's really been helpful for me personally and for every member of my team.
All right, perfect. Thank you so much for sharing. Could you
Mhm.
also share with our listeners what's the one thing that is going on in your life right now that you are really excited about? Either something you're working on to develop yourself or your people.
At the risk of repeating myself, it really is essentialism. Like even in my personal life, I'm like trying to just shed down, like even parenting, it's kind of like a minimalist in a way, but a little bit different. So I'm trying to simplify my life and really focus on the things that are going to make the biggest difference, like personally, I'm trying to exercise more and eat less sugar, like things like that, that
Mm-hmm.
are essential. And then at work, I'm really been focused on like picking the three things that I have to do, the most essential things in a day, and trying to let go of creating a to-do list that's 20 things long and feeling like I failed when I didn't do it at the end of the day.
That's a good one.
Yeah,
Like you,
which is definitely my old way of operating. And so ending the day feeling successful is way better. For
mm-hmm,
sure.
I agree. Especially if, psychologically you've conditioned your mind that if the list is smaller and definitely done in chunks and more manageable, then it makes it more realistic and provides you with a better transition from day to day because, as you said, you don't feel like you failed and you feel
Mm.
successful going into the next day.
Yep, exactly.
All right. Now, Our listeners would have tapped into this episode and they're quite intrigued with you, Rachel, and they'd like to know how they can reach out to you online. Where can they find you online?
I think LinkedIn is the best place for sure. I'm not really that's my main social network that I actually pay attention to. And then our company website is banzai.io.
.io.
Yes.
Okay, perfect. Now, before we wrap our episodes up, we always like to ask our guests if you have a quote or a saying, maybe something that you revert to or use if during times of adversity or challenge. This quote kind of helps to just get you back on track or get you back refocused. Do you have one of those?
Ooh. I think I'm going to stick to what I've, kind of the theme of the last few questions. And because I really do go back to the two quotes of the books I mentioned. So because my, I guess, weakness is more being a perfectionist and overachiever. So do less, but better. And basically be a genius about the things that matter and lazy about the things that don't.
Okay.
It's okay to be lazy, which is,
I love it. All right. Well, Rachel, thank you so much for taking time and coming on our podcast and sharing all of these great insights, sharing about your company Banzai and also about customer success and, some of the trends as it relates to AI that you believe should continue definitely to free up people's time, as well as what you're working on as you're going forward. So we just want to extend our deepest gratitude to you.
Thank you so much for having me.
Just want to remind our listeners you can follow us on X at NavigatingCX and feel free to join our private Facebook group, Navigating the Customer Experience Community. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant. We also have a new book available on Amazon, The ABCs of a Fantastic Customer Experience. It's available in ebook and paperback. So if you want to increase revenue in your organization, build a stronger service culture, and create employees or develop employees who are really mastering service delivery in your business, you need to grab a copy of this book. Until next time, I'm your host, Yannick Grant.
Thanks for listening. For more awesome resources to take your customer service game to another level, head over to navigatingthecustomerexperience.com. See you next time.